Okay, so I made a leather haversack or leather tote bag or man purse or whatever you want to call it from a leather coat that I had. This is the template I started out with. Now I thought I would either have to cut two pieces that were 16 by 22 or maybe just one piece. And as it turned out, there was enough leather in the coat that I just was able to cut out one solid 16-inch by 22-inch piece. And then I had another 16 by 12-inch piece. And then I wasn't sure if I'd have a continuous 5 by 40-inch piece or if I would end up having three pieces, which I ended up doing. I ended up having one 5 by 12-inch, one 16 by 5-inch, and then one 12 by 5-inch. So you can see the layout there. That's basically what I started off with. Now I ended up using more of the components of the coat, like the collar and the buttons and stuff like that. But that was the main template that I used to get started. Okay, most of the first part of this project was just cutting things out of the coat and just taking measurements from the template, using that. That's a wallpaper smoother, and that really comes in handy when you cut the leather. And I have a board that's on top of our dining room table there. So that, along with one of those squares that help you square things up, that was really helpful in cutting out the leather of the coat. So I'm just going to fast forward through most of this. Again, it's just a lot of measuring, cutting, just getting the pieces that you need, and then after that we start putting it together. Now, one of the things I wanted to make sure that this haversack fit was I've got a Macintosh 13-inch with a carrying case, and I just wanted to check and make sure that fit was good. So it's good. And then also, I just thought it'd be cool to get the original tag out of the coat. So I got that. I'm going to put that in the haversack too somewhere. Okay, so I also wanted to make sure that it fit my MacBook case there, so I just have clamps on the two main pieces there. Yep, looks like a good fit. And it's also very important to have dark chocolate chips with you. This gives you the strength to keep on cutting. So there you go, dark chocolate chips, very good, a very important piece of this whole process. Okay, now I'm going to cut the three 5-inch pieces, and these are going to go between the two other major pieces. These will be on the sides of the unit, and the best place to do this is the arms, so I just measure the arms and begin to cut out the pieces that I need. Okay, now this is the longest 5-inch piece, and I cut it 10 inches because I wanted to put some other strips in it because this is going to be the very bottom part of the haversack. So I wanted to have a little more strength, and so I just put those in, and I will sew those inside, and that'll give it a little more strength on the very bottom. And here I decided to use the actual pockets inside the haversack, and so I wanted to make sure that there's enough room for the stuff I normally carry. So that's the charger for the MacBook right there. That'll fit fine, and then I also have a small hard drive that I use for backup. That fits fine. So I'm going to actually take both the pockets out of the coat and use them on the inside of the haversack. And of course, there's the chocolate chips that you have to have access to every once in a while. All right, so this is where I begin cutting the pocket out, and it just takes a little detail work. You just cut around it and get the stitching off from around the pocket. So this is taking out the first pocket, and then I did the same thing with the other side in the other pocket. Okay, now I started cutting out where the buttons are and the buttonholes are. And after I got these cut out, I figured I could use them for a strap for the haversack. So I'm going to put these together, and once I get them cut out, you can see that they're pretty much matching each other. I do have to sew up one side of each of them just because I had to cut them out, but I'll actually use the buttons for the strap. Okay, so here's everything laid out. There's the big piece and then the smaller piece that goes on top of it. These are the side pieces, the one that's going to go in the bottom of the haversack there, the reinforced one that I talked about where I put the stuff inside it there, you can see. And that'll go on the bottom part. Um, and then as we work our way over to the sides, there are the two side pieces that I'm going to put in between the front and the back big pieces. All right, there are the chocolate chips you should always have on hand there as you're working on the project. Dark chocolate chips, very good. Then the two straps, the buttons with the buttonholes. Those are going to go on the sides of the haversack and become the actual strap. Now, I was actually thinking about using the collar for a handle, but as it turned out, I decided not to use that. I just threw it away because I figured with a strap, that's fine. I didn't need anything else, but I thought about maybe using that as a handle. Those are the two pockets that I cut out of the inside of the jacket, and those are going to go on the inside of the front part of the haversack. And then finally, the tag that well, that's a little hook thing. I thought I might use that too, but I decided not to use that. But then the other tag piece is I'm going to sew that into the inside of the haversack just to remind me that this was once a coat, leather coat. All right, here's another angle. You can see the two pockets that I'm going to sew on the inside of the front part, and then there's actually a third pocket I was able to take out of the coat. It was on the inside of the coat, so I'm going to put that on the back big piece of the haversack, and then you can see the two side pieces that will go down to join the bottom piece there. So that's about how it would look once it's all put together. You can see how I'm going to sew that side piece onto there. The next step was to sew the two pockets on the front piece of the haversack. So now I've got them both sewn on there, and you can see how they'll look on the inside, and that's the outside. So there's the third pocket that I sewn. So now all three pockets are sewn, and the bottom is sewn onto it. And the tool I used, I forgot to mention, this is a punching tool, and you actually take the leather and you punch it with a hammer. I tried it on a board. It actually worked best on my garage floor. But you just punch right down through the leather, and then that creates the holes, and then that makes it very easy to sew the stitching and sew the pieces together, both the pockets, and you can see there the bottom how I did that. So you just keep going along the bottom area there and try to stay in a straight line, and then you just stitch it up. Okay, so I'm sewing the sides onto the haversack, and I have both sides that I'm working on now, and it's just about complete. All right, and then I just put a couple pillows inside just to kind of give a feel for what it's going to look like. And you can see the sides are both sewn on now, the bottom's sewn on, the pockets are sewn inside, and it's beginning to really take shape. Now it's just a matter of taking the button holes and the buttons and sewing them on the sides, and I'm actually going to just button the buttons and use that for the strap. The holes are there, and so it's going to work out really nicely. And then that'll just be sewn on the sides of the haversack, and that will be the strap. And you can see here I've punched the holes in a square, and then I'm just going to sew that right on top. So I punched the hole through the strap and through the side of the haversack, and now I'll be able to just stitch right around that square. All right, now the strap is sewn on, and it's time to put all my the things that I would normally carry in a haversack like this. So there's my laptop and my notebook. It fits just really well, and I'm thinking about maybe cutting the front piece at an angle, just kind of cutting it in like that just to give it a little more shape. And then I'll probably fold it over and sew it together. And then I'm also going to put some kind of latch on that piece as well. I'll probably sew that right about in here, and I'll just put it right on there, maybe even make it out of an antler, piece of antler that I have down in the basement. Okay, so I did decide to cut the angles off of that front flap. So I just measured it off the same distance from each of the corners, and then I used that square to help me cut it evenly, and I really like the way it turned out. So once again, here's a look at the completed project.